MSME Talk is nominated for Hindustan Times and Mint Podcast Awards. We humbly request our listeners to encourage our team by sparing 30 seconds time to vote for us. Voting link is given in description. Thank you.
So if any unregistered dealer who is maybe MSME or who is working through e-commerce, earlier they were not allowed to do interstate supply of the goods or even to the composition tax. Second thing related to indirect tax, service provider under composition schemes shall be required to file only one annual return. Payment of the tax they can make on the quarterly basis.
This is episode number 34 of MSME Talk on Interim Budget 2024 with Sandeep Garg. Welcome back to MSME Talk podcast for micro, small, medium enterprise businesses and startups. MSME Talk bring value addition guidance, products, services, industry experts and information to scale up and build unshakable, long-lasting business. So please don't miss to hit follow or subscribe button. Also, do sign up for newsletter for more information and update. Link given in description. Hi, I'm Tripti Sharma, your host for today's episode. When we talk about government budget, everyone looks with a lot of hope and eagerness. And same is in the case of micro, small, medium enterprises, which we call as MSMEs and startups. So today we will understand from our expert about the interim 2024 Government of India's finance budget and updates for micro, small, medium enterprises as well as startups. Sandeep Garg, who is partner with SS Kothari Mehta Company, have almost 2 decades of experience in advising MSMEs and startups in areas of GST, service tax, CS, VAT, etc. and other interim tax matters, is there with us to update our community on Budget 2024, which is interim. A warm welcome, Sandeep, on MSME Talk podcast to tell our listeners about what's in store for them in the today's budget.
First of all, many congratulations to you and MSME Talk team for being nominated for Hindustan Times Podcast Award. Many congratulations.
Thank you so much, Sandeep.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tripti and MSME Talk podcast for the budget discussion and discussion with your large and lovely audience about the budgets specifically related to MSME and startups. So thank you so much for inviting me on this session.
So Sandeep, let's move towards the main discussion of our today's episode. And before we move to businesses and MSMEs and startup discussion, impact on them or anything related to them in the budget, let's understand from you, what are the highlights of today's budget?
Yeah, sure, Tripti. Tripti, as we all know that this is interim budget and election is going to happen in some time in next 2 months, right? So this is the last budget for this government of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And this is interim budget because they don't have the full year to present. So because election is going to held in May, and the final budget somehow will come again in the month of July when the government will be formed. So though it's not a final budget, in the interim budget, they have made some announcement, whatever was the permissible as per the law. So they have made some announcements. So we can discuss the specific whatever has been announced and promised in this budget. So by Madam Nirmala Sitharaman as a finance minister. So Tripti, so in this today's speech, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman presented about an account that came with a boosted dose for the economy in the area of infrastructure and housing, even when striking balance between growth and fiscal consolidation. So highlighting the main thing which they did in today's budget session. So they have specifically highlighted the center's whole of nation approach in governance and policies, right? So even they have emphasis on the vision of Viksit Bharat in the harmony with the nature and with modern infrastructure and providing opportunity for all the citizens and a religion to reach their potential. Another thing, in this budget, they have specifically focused on the 4 areas or 4, I'll say, castes. One is the youth, second is the women, third is the poor, and fourth is the farmer. Beside this, the middle class, which will now get a housing scheme right? So they have specifically announced in the budget for the middle class, they will make a housing scheme where the middle class or the people living in the clusters or chairs, everyone will be getting home, and it will be easy for them to get a home instead of staying in the rented houses as per these schemes. We will all see what the scheme will be coming and how the middle class will be getting benefit of them. Further, when I'm talking about the tax rates on this budget, that all remain unchanged. There is a no change in the tax rate. So I'll say this is again, if it is not bad, it's a good that no change. Even nothing has been enhanced or nothing has been reduced. So this one way it's a good for that same as 23, 24, 24, 25 will also be remain same as from the tax point of angle. So today, Ma'am Nirmala Sitharaman has made a 60 minutes long budget speech, her sixth in a row. This was the sixth budget speech from the madam and the last budget of the second Narendra Modi government. So they reaffirmed the government's commitment to pursue a capex-led growth for 2024, 24-25 as well, while conveying its intent to rein in the fiscal deficit at the 5.1%. So this is again a good thing about the fiscal deficit. So they intend to rein in the same percentage of 5.1%. This is a good, I think, for the India as a nation. So further, I'll say a few things about the today's highlight of the budget session, guiding by the principle of the reform, perform, and transform. The government will take up generation reforms and build consensus with the state and stakeholder for their effective implementation. It involves many things it's involved, which in the budget speech they have highlighted, like a aspirational district program they have highlighted, development of the eastern region of the country, they specifically focus, and we have all seen in the last 5 years as well, their main focus was one of the area which they have focused on the eastern region of the country. Then the PM Awas Yojana they have announced, which we have discussed for the Gramins. Another good thing which they have highlighted, even this has been highlighted by Honorable Prime Minister earlier also on the 22nd January. So related to rooftop solarization and Muft Bijli. So that is specifically scheme now they have put in the budget also, though announcement as in a public they have made earlier. So this is again a good scheme, good for infrastructure development, good for the people of India. So this is good scheme they are announcing. Apart from this, the housing for middle class, that again a good scheme. Further, for the youth point of view and for the student point of view, they have announced medical classes, medical colleges, specifically few IITs, new IITs, triple IITs, and then university has been announced in this budget. Some maternal and child healthcare related facilities or institute has been announced to develop in this budget. Further, apart from this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after the budget speech during the press conference, has offered the guarantee of strengthening the foundation of developed India. One more important thing which has been highlighted in this budget, government has announced that this is a budget of creating India's future. And they have mentioned adding that a reflection of the young aspiration of a young India. Further, they have made an announcement of a 1 lakh crore funds for research and innovation. He noted that the historical budget has also offered rebates for startups. It has provision for a huge capital expenditure of 11.11 lakh crore while keeping the fiscal deficit under control. So this is big thing. So they are making a good announcement for the huge capital expenditure and maintaining the fiscal deficit under control. Right. So this is all which is the main highlight of the budget today, which is presented by Madam Nirmala Sitharaman. Though we all know it's interim budget, nothing more can be announced in this budget, interim budget, but still there are some focus area where they have highlighted their last 5 or 10 years achievement and shown some roadmap for the future and the vision for the Viksit Bharat by 2027. So that's all is the main highlights of the today's budget session.
So Sandeep, now let's get to the perspective for our main audience, MSMEs and startups. Is there any specific announcement, any references for MSMEs and startups? Please tell us.
MSME basically is the micro, small and medium enterprises which form a major part of the private businesses as pose as a growth engine for the Indian economy. It's a contribute almost 30% of our GDP, 48% of the exports, and provide employment to more than 110 million in rural and urban areas. This is the strength of the MSME sector. MSME sector specifically has a talent and ability of risk taking and can play a big role in strengthening India's capability, even in a critical sector such as even aviation, semiconductor, textile, defense, medical equipment, etc. So you will appreciate that as of now, as per one data, 6.3 crore MSME in India, and only half of them are registered on 𝐈𝐧𝐿. 𝐈𝐧𝐿 is a platform that creates many opportunity for the MSME, for GST, non-GST registered small business to avail the government schemes, production related incentive, which is a PLI schemes, and the formal channel of the credits. A major driver will be bring to the remaining half of the registered to have to registered on 𝐈𝐧𝐿, which will act as a catalyst for the MSME to formalize and recap the benefits. So this is the numbers of the MSME sectors, with the units in India 6.3 crore something. Then half of them only are registered on the 𝐈𝐧𝐿 platform. The one through this platform, I would like to urge to all the MSME unit to register themselves on the 𝐈𝐧𝐿 platform. They will create more and more opportunity for them. It's a beneficial for the MSME only. So now coming to the specific what has been announced in this particular budget for MSME, and even if it is not announced, so what the existing benefits will continue or not, or how it will go. So we may discuss for that. So one is the reduction and the rationalization of the tax rates, like the government has in the last budget itself and in the previous budgets has reduced and rationalized tax rates, including corporate tax for the existing domestic company and certain new manufacturing companies. So this reduction aims to provide relief and promote growth in the business sector. Though in this particular budget, there is no specific reduction has been made, or nothing has been, I'll say, increase on the tax rate. But if we will look on the last 5 years, gradually they have reduced the rates of a tax for the MSME and the new companies or the domestic companies. Another benefit, so for the MSME, so extension of tax benefit for startup and investment. As we all know, there is some tax benefit for startup and investment made by the sovereign wealth or pension funds, as well as a tax exemption or certain income of IFSC, International Financial Service Center units, that somehow is going to expire on 31st March 2024. But in this budget, this extension of 1 year has been given for this exemption. So now this will be going to expire on 31st March 2025. Another third thing, so withdrawal of outstanding direct tax demands. Madam Nirmala Sitharaman has acknowledged the burden of outstanding direct tax demand on the taxpayer. Even she has mentioned there are some demands even pertaining to the 1962 still coming as a pending on the portal or on the records of income tax department. To alleviate this burden and provide relief to the honest taxpayer, the government proposed to show also withdraw outstanding direct tax, basically, which is income tax demand up to 25,000 for the period of to the financial year 9-10. So if there is any outstanding demand, basic tax demand of to the of rupees 25,000, which pertaining to the year any time before 2009-10, that will be automatically will be vanished or withdrawal by the income tax department. Or if demand after that for the period of 10-11 to 14-15 and demand is of up to rupees 10,000, that will also be withdrawal by the income tax department. This initiative just will help in the small taxpayer where they are having pending demands of 25,000 or 10,000 that has not been settled now, and that may be creating just an extra burden for them or creating hurdle in getting future period refunds. That will be all they will be helpful for that. So apart from these policies, measure and announcement demonstrate the government's commitment to supporting business, particularly MSME and startup, by reducing tax burden, providing continuity in tax benefit, and elevating long-standing tax demand, thereby fostering a conducting environment for economic growth and entrepreneurship. Apart from this, in the last budget also, and so this is continuity of that thing only. So unregistered supplier, wherever there is an unregistered supplier, this is related to somehow related to indirect tax and the GST. Unregistered supplier and composition taxpayer have been allowed to make interstate supply of goods through e-commerce. This has happened during this particular period. This may not specifically announced in this budget, but previously it has been announced. So if any unregistered dealer who is maybe MSME or small dealer who is working through e-commerce, earlier they were not allowed to do interstate supply of the goods. Interstate means from one state to another state. Now they will be allowed. Or even to the composition taxpayer. Composition taxpayer means that a taxpayer who is having turnover less than 1 crore and they are paying GST under a particular scheme, which is we are calling it as a composition schemes. So they are also allowed to make an interstate supply of goods. There is no restriction on that. Second thing related to indirect tax, which has been announced in the by way of notification during this year, service provider under composition scheme shall be required to file only one annual return. Instead of filing 3-4 periodical returns, they will be required to file only one annual return, and payment of the tax they can make on the quarterly basis. So this is all are related to MSME. One another thing which is again highlighted in this budget, though it's a last year budget announcement, during the COVID period, if any MSME is failure to execute the contract, right? So then they have made some security amount deposit with the government, or they are having pending payments with the government agencies, then the government will release those payments without any deduction or restrictions. So this is all has been announced in today's budget related to MSMEs. Further to add that related to MSME, there are some schemes like a LCZ and other schemes which were continuing during the COVID period or later on. There is no specific announcement in the budget speech or in the budget document has been made related to that. So we are assuming that all those schemes will be continue as it is for this FY also, or up till next full budget will be coming in the month of July.
Okay. So basically what we understand, we have not heard any specific change in the MSME or related scheme in the budget, and we are assuming they are continuing till the next main budget comes after the election.
And one more thing not related to this particular budget session today. Last year, if you remember, we discussed that one specific provision has been announced in the budget related to MSME. So where it is related to basically income tax, section 43B, subclause H has been added in the budget. In that, there is a provision has been mentioned that if you are dealing with the MSME and if you are not making payment to the MSME as per your contract or within 45 days, or if it is not as per contract within 15 days, and that MSME is registered with the MSME Act, then the expenditure to that receiver of that service or receiver of the goods will not be allowed under Income Tax Act. Why am I highlighting so today? Because this was applicable for 23-24 and now 23-24 is going to end by 31st March. If as on a 31st March, if the business is having any outstanding related to MSME and this is going beyond 45 days, right, as on 31st March, that business entity will not be allowed expenditure of that purchase of goods or services from MSME. That will be only allowed once they will make the payment in that financial year. So this is important. Business entity who is receiving supply of goods or services from MSME should be taken care of that.
Thank you, Sandeep, for reminding our listeners to ensure that, if their dues are there, they should release the payment. And apart from the MSMEs who, their receipts are getting delayed, they know that their buyers cannot claim them as an expenditure if they don't pay them at the time.
Exactly.
Wonderful. So let's move to the next part of our discussion where we want to understand from you, is there any further discussion in the budget documents or budget speech related to any specific sectors or any announcement for overall businesses in India?
So thing is that because it's an interim budget, so now not much of the announcement related to sector specific, but just to run the smooth things, there are some announcement has been made for the sector specific sectors. Few sectors which I would like to highlight specifically. One is the infrastructure development. So they have specifically mentioned that they are main focus on the capital expenditure, and that has been tripled over the last 4 years. This increase had a significant multiplier effect on the economic growth and employment creation. That, of course, if there will be a capital expenditure, capital investment on the infra, there will be a huge opportunity for economic growth and employment creation. For the next year, they have announced that capital expenditure outlay is being increased by 11%. So there will be further more expenditure on the capital infrastructure development, which is even increased by 11%. This constitutes 3-4% of the GDP. This is one of the sector where we all know this government is in the last 5 years or even in the 10 years more focused on the infrastructure development. Second thing which they have specifically highlighted in this budget related to railways. So they have specifically announced that there will be major economic railway corridor program will be implemented. They have specifically announced 3 railways corridor will be made this in the next future years, where that is specifically investment or development will be on the railways corridors. That is the second sector which is the main focus in this budget. Third is related to tourists. We all know that it's as already announced, the Modi government's main focus on the tourists, and they are making all the effort that domestic tourism should be grow, and instead of international, they are making more and more emphasis on that. In this budget also, they have specifically highlighted that they will be providing long-term interest-free loan to states for the financing developments. Second, they are encouraging the state to develop iconic tourist centers. Further, all the government projects related to in the railways or the port development will be on the Indian islands only, including Lakshadweep. So on the aviation sector, in the past decade, aviation sector has witnessed remarkable growth. Number of airport has doubled to 149. Enhanced air connectivity through the UDAN scheme to 2-tier and even 3-tier cities with 517 new routes serving 1.3 crore passengers. Indian carriers have potentially ordered about 1,000 new aircraft. This is again a good achievement. Another sector which is green energy towards net zero by 2070. This is the target they have mentioned in the budget speech, where the visibility gap funding for offshoring wind energy, establishment of coal gasification and liquefaction capacity, mandatory blending of CBG in CNG and PNG, financial assistance for biomass aggregation machinery. Another things, they have made sector-specific announcement for biomanufacturing and biofoundry, and blue economy too also. Blue economy too, where they have mentioned that launch of a scheme for restoration and adaptation measures, promotion of coastal aquaculture and mariculture with an integrated approach, implementation of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana will be stepped up to enhance adequate productivity from existing 3 to 5 tons per hectare, double exports to 1 lakh crore and generate 55 lakh employment opportunity in near future. Then about promoting investments, they have mentioned that they will be keep negotiating for a bilateral investment treaties with the foreign countries and the investors so that more and more investment come in India. So another sector, if though we have already discussed, so agriculture and food processing, because it's related to the farmer, that is the main focus out of the four focus area in this budget, where the farmers and agriculture, they are putting main focus on that, where they are saying that there will be more research and development on the agriculture sides, right? Second, there will be more insurance coverage for the core. That is again for the insurance sector and the agriculture sector. So this is all announcement has been made related to few sector in this today's budget session.
Got it, Sandeep. So these are the sector related highlights you have shared with us. Now, if we talk about anything relevant to any schemes or measures which were announced during COVID, anything has been referred here?
So on the specific on the COVID schemes, nothing has been mentioned or announced in this budget. So we assuming that the benefit has been whatever has been announced earlier related to COVID schemes or indirectly related to COVID benefit, that has all been remain as it is. They will be continue further. until the full budget will be coming in the July 24.
Let's take a quick break.
MSMEs and startups are looking for various kinds of support and upgrade. Are you a product service provider, expert, advisor, consultant, mentor for MSMEs and startups? Do reach out to MSME Talk to list your business. Check the link in the description. So Sandeep, would you like to make any comment or any information you'd like to share related to foreign institutional investors of FDI investment, etc., or to the matter of state related investments, etc.?
Yes, there is few announcement in the provided tax that can impact investors in startup or businesses, domestic or as well as foreign capital raising, as well as interest rates on the investment or borrowing. So one thing they have mentioned in the budget, so FDI inflows during the period of 2014 to 2023, which is basically the BJP government period. So the USD 596 billion, marking a golden era. So this is the number which they are saying that foreign investment has been made during this last 10-year tenure. So further, it has been mentioned that this is twice the inflow during the period of 2005 to 2014. So while they are comparing it with the 2005 to 14 era, so they are saying it's a double foreign investment has been made during this period. This is a good thing. So almost double foreign investment came in this last 10 years. Further, for encourage sustained foreign investment, they will be keep negotiating bilateral investment treaties with foreign partners in the spirit of first developed India. So the main thing again they have specifically highlighted first developed India, and in preview of that they are attracting the foreign investments. Another thing, so fiscal deficit for this year and the next year 24-25 they are making target to 5.1, which I'll say as a fiscal deficit is a disciplined will be in disciplined one there, which will be maintained as it is. The target for 25-26, which they have mentioned in this budget, that they are aiming to reduce the fiscal deficit below 4.5%. So once the fiscal deficit is reducing by this certain percentage of 0.5%, this will be good for Indian economy, and it means we are attracting more and more foreign investments. It's a more Indian economy is doing good, and GDP is increasing, and we are getting more and more manufacturing things done here. So this will be good for Indian business houses and as well as for MSME and other business organizations. Third thing, so related to this foreign investment, startup and Indian companies, interest-free loan to states. They have announced continuation of the schemes providing 50-year interest-free loans for capital expenditure to the states with a total outlay of 1.3 lakh crore, which can facilitate infrastructure development and potential stimulate economic activity in the state, which will attract domestic and foreign investment. So this is good that they are firm on their stand. They are taking states together and attracting states to make a development in their states, so that the particular state itself can attract the foreign investors for the investment in their particular states, and the India as a whole can grow. So this is a related point related to foreign investment in the India. Further, apart from these three benefits, tax rationalization is again good thing which the foreign investor usually likes, that there is a no increase in the tax rate, which usually government keep doing during the budget sessions, the increase in the tax rates. So this government has formed on that, even not only reduce the tax rate in the last 3-4 years, they are formed, and now this budget they are maintaining the same tax rate. So this will attract more foreign investment and good for businesses in India. So this is again a good point. There is a no increase in the tax rate. So overall, all these announcements may influence investor sentiments, capital raising decisions, and interest rate dynamic in the market.
Okay. Thank you, Sandeep. I think you have basically covered all the touch points which were there in today's budget in respect of the businesses, considering it is being an interim budget and government cannot announce too many benefits. So as election is around the corner. So we'll move towards the last section of the episode today. Would you like to share anything with our listeners of MSMEs and startups in perspective, any guidance or guiding principles or hacks you would like to tell them?
Yeah, so if we will talk about today's budgets and government direction in the last couple of the years, so specifically for MSME, not only for MSME, for even for the other business houses, the government's so three topmost things we would recommend as a guiding principle or for the enterprises. One is the technology. So that technology, there is a main focus in this budget also on the technology, which can help in the MSME also if they are aligned or upgrade themselves for related to the technology. Second is compliances. Compliances are the most important. We have seen in our experience there are MSME or even not the MSME, the business houses, they are not focusing on the compliances, be it a tax regulatory or other regulatory that can create a problem for ongoing smooth businesses. So compliances is again important. Government is main focusing on the compliances, be it the indirect tax, direct tax, corporate law, or any other regulatory compliances. Third, benefits of many schemes. So there are so many schemes has been announced earlier also in this budget also, and sometime we are not aware about the schemes and we are not taking benefit of those schemes. So we should adhere to the government announcement so that we can take benefit of those schemes, like we discussed that registration of MSME on the Udyam portal. So even half of the MSME is registered on that. So these schemes are there, benefits are there. Sometimes we are not knowing about that. So that is important to knowing the government schemes. So these are the three things which we can highlight.
Okay, thank you so much, Sandeep, for making it today, just after today's announcement is done on the budget and you are there with us to help our listeners of what's there in the budget. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again related to taxation or budget discussion.
Thanks, Tripti. Thanks to inviting me for this session.
Hey, if you like the information shared on the podcast, why don't you give some good reviews to us on Apple or Spotify? Through this episode, I hope you would have got some answers to your queries and guidance for way forward. Do share your learnings from the episode, your feedbacks and suggestions. If you are an entrepreneur and have questions from experts or any particular topic or profile of expert you want to hear, or if you are an industry expert with MSME as a target audience, do reach out to us. Our link is given in description. And at last, please do subscribe for MSME Talk podcast and don't forget to share the podcast link with your friends, family and network. Take care. Goodbye. Happy to share MSME Talk podcast enters peak ranking chart of 10th country in the Apple Podcast country level entrepreneurship category. If you are an expert or provide product or services to small businesses, MSMEs and startups, reach out to us to discuss showcase opportunity in MSME Talk. Contact details given in description.